Welcome, everyone, to the Spend Life Well show, where we apply biblical wisdom to your financial journey. I'm certified Kingdom Advisor Mark Trice, and as always, my trusty sidekick and fellow financial advisor. He provides and he advises. Jesse Hamilton.
Providing advice, right? Yeah. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. Well, hey, it's Halloween's Eve.
It's here.
And All Hallows Eve. I really don't care for the holiday myself, but I
was taking a walk the other day in my neighborhood, and decorating is such a big deal now. And is that a big deal in your neighborhood?
It kind of is, but the displays that I've seen are just really, I'm like, yeah, no, not for me.
Not very tasteful, huh?
So, but it's surprising because Halloween decorating has become almost as popular, if not more popular, than decorating for Christmas.
I know. It's strange.
Which is scary. It kind of talks about the world we live in. So today, folks, on the Spend Life Well show, we're going to be talking about the dark side of home improvement.
Fitting topic for today, right?
That's right. The dark side of home improvement. Kind of give you some ins and outs of things that you have to be aware of. Today's verse and scripture, we're reading from Luke 14:28, which basically says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? And that verse is kind of fitting for any type of home improvement type project or thing. I know we work with a lot of clients that maybe are living in an updated or outdated home. They feel like that Formica from the 1980s is just getting a little too hard to look at, and they want to do that. So
especially in the interest rate environment we're in right now, people are staying in their homes longer, so they want to improve them.
That's right. So Jesse, there was a study that was released recently from the National Council on Aging.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, we knew there's a new organization now we have never heard of, but they shared a story about a homeowner scam in Massachusetts.
Right.
Jump into that.
What happened here is the victim alleged that a contractor damaged his home's foundation and didn't return to finish the work even after taking several $1,000s in payments. And this is not a rare occurrence.
No, it happens quite often.
So since 2007, there's been 109,000 home improvement scams reported to the Federal Trade Commission, and that's over $200 million in losses.
And a lot of people are just ashamed that they got swindled, and they don't report the crime.
They don't want to tell them about it.
Oftentimes, scammers will seek out older homeowners who they expect to be more trusting, maybe wealthier, and more likely to have memory or cognitive problems. This sounds awful.
It sounds awful. That's really sad to hear.
And so just in 2020, this is the latest data that we have, homeowners funneled an estimated $420 billion.
With a B.
That's with a B, into remodeling projects. And so, some of these home and remodeling stuff isn't as simple as walking into Walmart or Home Depot and making a purchase, right? There's sometimes we're knocking out walls, we're redoing all bathrooms together.
Have you ever attempted something like that on your own?
Have I what?
Have you ever attempted a major remodel on your own?
Yes, I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay.
No, I have, and that's why I always hire a professional.
Okay.
So anyway, we don't have enough time in the podcast today to talk about my home improvement mistakes. So, with major retailers, there's a high level of comfort that retailer will provide a good product and stand behind it in a warranty, right?
That makes sense.
And some home improvement companies, and I know a lot of local construction people that are very trustworthy, but there are others out there that are looking to make a fast buck. And I think that's especially true, especially here in Texas when we have hailstorms.
Mm-hmm.
There are people from all over the country come into an area, and they're suddenly a roofing expert. Now, they may legitimately have a lot of experience, but they're basically ambulance chasers with that.
Mm-hmm. They all come out after the storms,
and they're just looking to make a fast buck. The quality of work a lot of times in these situations is, that's not really high on their list of things that are important. And scammers often try to take your money and leave you with little value. Our pastor was telling a story how he got scammed on a hailstorms thing where he's trying to get dents out of a truck he bought,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so they made it look like they were working really hard, and they said that, hey, there's some things I need to do here. We'll come back tomorrow, but I need you to go ahead and pay me half of of the projected cost so I can pay for the equipment and all that different stuff. Did they show back up?
No, they
No.
didn't.
Never showed up. So
So-
you want to make sure that anybody that you're working with is properly insured, bonded, and so forth. We're going to talk about some things to help you identify those scams. So Jesse, why don't you kick that off?
So here's our list of red flags to identify a scammer. The first one is someone knocking on doors claiming to be in the area or looking for business. You should avoid that.
We see that all the time. It's like, I'm going to be, we get it from wholesalers. I'm going to be in your area. And I always reply back to them, it's like, where's my area?
Yeah.
And they don't know where I am.
Another big one is claiming that they have material left over from a previous job and they're going to give it to you cheap.
Oh, that's so nice of them.
So
And-
nice.
and
just a complete
oftentimes-
stranger, they're going to help you out.
That's right. And there are often times that either if they actually have material, they probably stole it.
Yeah.
And in two, that's just a way to get you in to hook you and think you're saving money.
That's right.
One of the big areas, though, Jesse, is the pressure, right?
The pressure is on. Yeah.
You have to make a decision right now
That's a
because if you don't, I'm going to your next door neighbor and giving this special offer to them.
Exactly right. I've seen that from solicitors coming up to my house before, but luckily not with contract work or home improvement.
Well, how do we pay people? How should we? What's another scam red flag?
Scammers are looking for upfront payments and cash only transactions. That sounds like how your pastor might have got scammed.
Yeah, he was highly recommended. I don't know by who, but anyway, yeah, he wanted upfront payments. I mean, depending on the situation, reasonably, you should really only require maybe a third down, because if that contractor does not have the cash resources to buy the necessary supplies to start the project, then they're not really legitimately in business. You don't get into that. Now, they may need money up front. That's why I say a third and have milestones, but never give a contractor for home improvement things all the money up front.
Especially if they're using point number 2 and they have, quote, materials left over. You don't even have to buy it.
Yeah.
But, another big one is asking you to get the required permits. So they're the builder, they're the contractor.
They're the professional.
yeah.
I don't want to mess with going down and getting the right permits.
I don't either. But
you know,
they might get you to do that.
what's another one about when it comes to money, borrow money?
Yeah, if they ever suggest that you borrow money from a lender that they know, you might want to avoid that.
Right. And then the final one, scammer, that we think about sometimes is refusing to sign a contract. Like they don't want to produce any type of bill or invoice or statement of work.
No paper trail.
And they insist on a handshake deal. You know, my word is my bond. And that's usually about as shaky as the paper that the contract
Exactly.
might have been written on.
Exactly.
So how do we avoid these scammers when it comes to home improvements?
So you want to find somebody who's licensed and insured so that they have a backup plan if something crazy happens, if they get hurt at your house on your
I
property.
mean, they're licensed by the state. They're bonded. In other words, they have a surety bond to ensure their work should something happen to your property during that time.
A great way is to get a recommendation from a family or a friend that has used them before.
You know, when I needed to get gutters because I was having water pooling around the foundation of my house, and I didn't want to spend money on gutters. But when we bought this house years ago, they didn't have gutters, and so I asked around the people that had used people in town and found one that I was happy with. It turns out he actually goes to my church, and so I felt safer knowing that person had been recommended by people that had used that company.
Right.
And okay, yeah, he went to church with me too. That's a criteria at all. We have to be careful about those things because yes, there are some people that may be unscrupulous going to your church, but that helped me feel better to get those recommendations from friends.
Right. You can also check with your local home builders association or reputable builders in your area. I know that this is something I've done before. I have a contact with my builder, kind of a catch-all handyman. And if he can't fix it, he can give me somebody who can.
Yeah, that's good. So what about researching that business online and reading reviews?
Yep. Online reviews usually don't lie. Obviously, if somebody had one really bad experience, you don't want to base it on that. But That's a good way to search.
And a lot of these contractors will register with the Better Business Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see if they've got lots of complaints through the Better Business Bureau, then you want to make sure that you're being very cautious about that.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a contractor that has a website, they're not going to put negative reviews on there.
Yeah.
But some things like Yelp and the Better Business Bureau can have some reviews on there for those things.
Yeah. And as we said before in the red flags section, you want to get written estimates, read them carefully, and avoid paying for it all up front.
Yeah, only in installments and so forth. Now, let's talk about a little about some of the loan scams, because that's kind of iffy, especially if your contractor is agreeing to finance it through something that they do, or maybe it's a lender they use, and you want to make sure you're shopping around for that, because that could be a scam in itself.
Mm-hmm. Never agree to a loan without understanding all the terms of the loan. And here's one that we actually have seen before. Don't sign a document that has blank space in it.
Well, that's a big no-no in our business.
Yeah.
Talking about financial documents and things, we have to have everything completed before we even submit or ask the client to sign things. You want to make sure there's not a lot of there's not a lot of blank spaces. I was doing a lease for my daughter the other day. She wanted me to review it and so forth, and I knew that the apartment complex required a security deposit, but that was blank.
Yeah.
And I had to push back and say, sorry, we're not signing this until this is completed. So you'd be surprised. They could go back in and fill it in, and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't agree to pay $10,000 for a deposit.
Any pressure that you get in the actual signing process is a problem.
Yeah. So if you are a victim of a scam, it's so important that you report that crime to your state attorney general's office. You can also look at the BBB. There may be a local home builders association that you can report that to. It's so important to make sure that this scam that was committed on you to be reported, and so other people can know about it as well.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, you want to be networking and talking to people. That's a way to stay safe.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about doing remodeling around the house, there's several things you need to consider. Watch out for scams. There's a lot of shysters out there that we don't want you to get exposed to. But in our final minutes, Jesse, I just want to kind of mention, because a lot of people are thinking about maybe selling their house, and they got a lot of information from realtors.
Yeah.
And some of that it's helpful, some of that's not. One of the things that, and I took a class years ago from a professional home flipper that went in, bought properties, improved them, turned them over to resale or rent them. And he gave us a guide to what things provide the most value. Now, a lot of people don't realize that making that significant investment in remodeling the property may help you sell your house faster, but you will never get the value out of it. That's
right.
important to remember.
We see this quite a bit with all types of clients, where they want to invest this large sum of money in their home, and their thought is, well, I'll get it back for sure when I sell the home, all of it, or
and
maybe
you
even
almost
more.
Never do. You almost never do.
But that doesn't mean don't do it.
If you're going to enjoy that remodel, let's say it's a kitchen remodel or a bathroom remodel, and you're going to live there for a number of years, and that's for your personal enjoyment, by all means, if you've got the money, go ahead and do that. But don't put money into a remodel thinking that it's an investment and you're going to get that money back, because you probably won't.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to know what the real estate market will be when you do decide to sell.
Now, our listeners that are realtors are going to send us nasty notes because we disagree with them in this aspect. It may very well help your home sell faster if it has an updated kitchen,
which does have monetary value to you to get that sale quickly.
But all we're saying is that don't expect to get 100% of the money that you put into the remodel. Don't expect to get that back on the sale of the property, because it's not as valuable as you think. Some of the most important things that you can do if you're thinking about upgrading your home, or maybe you're trying just to simply prepare it for a sale, hey, a coat of fresh paint can do wonders for improving the value and the resale value of your home. And so that's not too hard to do, especially if you paint yourself.
Sure.
even hiring a contractor is not going to be outrageously expensive, but doing that, you may not get the value out of it, but if you're looking for things to help improve the resale value, cleaning up the house, putting a fresh coat of paint on in the inside in certain rooms, or maybe the trim around the house, cleaning up the yard, getting all the weeds and things like that, or overgrown bushes and trimming those back, those things can help with the resale value. But just remember, if you're thinking about making a major investment or upgrades or remodeling your home, do it for your enjoyment, not because you're going to get value out of it and in a monetary way when it's time to sell. Just doesn't happen that way.
Well, I hope it's been helpful to all the listeners about what to avoid. We don't want to see anybody get scammed.
Yeah, avoid the scary scams. Be cautious about when you're doing home remodeling or roof repairs and things. Make sure you do your homework, talk to friends, ask for suggestions and recommendations. And folks, until next time, hopefully you survive Halloween. But until next time, you've been listening to the Spend Life Well Show. Have a blessed week.